Hello everyone, Hearts of Iron 4. Let's quickly load our latest, or our last, save as. And the last episode, I said the tutorial is basically finished. And that was correct. The tutorial, the official part of the tutorial is done. So now, I left for consideration what I'm going to do with that series. Since tutorial is over, I can still continue playing. Now I'm wondering why I have 20 FPSs. Which is kinda ridiculous. Okay, there is some problem with overlay, because I can certainly see that the game is running in 69 FPSs. Either way, I hope that the recording will be looking fine. So, let's come back to main topic. The tutorial, the official part of the tutorial is finished. The question is whether we want to continue as Italy and still, well, basically learn the game, like we do in other series. The problem with Hearts of Iron 4 is that it's not very appealing to me. And there are a few problems we will talk about soon. But first, I would like to make a quick summary of the tutorial since it's finished. So basically, the tutorial is almost good enough. It introduces you to very basic aspects of the game. It shows you how research tab works, and that's basically very straightforward. Certainly, that's way easier compared with Hearts of Iron 3. This is, I mean, you have to be stupid to not really understand what's going on here. Seriously, this is obvious. Of course, in that tab, maybe because of those names, that's going a bit tougher, but doesn't really matter, those names. So, in general, easy stuff. Then it also introduces you to construction, which seems to be kind of straightforward. Yeah, civilian factories, you build them first, so that's gonna increase your building capacity, construction capacity. Then military factories, of course. You have some other stuff like infrastructure, air bases, anti-air, blah blah blah. In general, game only says about civilian and military factors, and that's it. It doesn't touch any other aspect like infrastructure and so on, or railways, yeah, naval bases, coastal forts, and so on. It doesn't touch it, which is, I don't know. Frankly speaking, it's so few buildings, few possibilities here. They could talk about them a bit more. Seriously, just short introduction, that would be awesome, especially that we have something like supply hubs and railways, and seems like logistics is pretty important in warfare, right? Of course it is, as there's not a quote, I believe. So hobbyists talk about rifles, calibers, guns, ammunition, and so on. And true professionals talk about logistics. It's a common among military guys. So yeah, that's regarding the construction. So it's not great, just very basic. The plus of construction is that you can figure it out by your own, basically. You just need to read through all those buildings, what they do. You can also find whether they are worth it or not. So, not a big deal. Then you have the production tab. And again, in case of Hearts of Iron 4, that's pretty much straightforward. You have some type of equipment you want to produce, whether it's artillery, whether it's support equipment, tanks, planes, whatever, and you assign factories to that. That's it. Of course, those are military factories, right? Because you have civilian factories, which are supposed to do other stuff like building military factories or being used for trade. Quite obvious. Of course, if you start thinking about some other stuff, like you can change type of equipment, some equipment get outdated and so on, so it becomes uh, slightly more, well, problematic, but in general, it's not hard to figure it out, so tutorial did what it's supposed to do. This is just fine. Then we have recruit and deploy, and here I believe that tutorial doesn't say much, just the very basic introduction that you can recruit any division, that there are templates, they don't explain it much, they just say that there are templates, you can modify them as you want. It doesn't say anything about that, which is like, well, the basically kind of logistic stuff. So, of course, we could say that it's also straightforward because it's basically it comes down to setting up priority regarding on your preference, or actually the military preference. But that, I don't know. For example, they don't explain raids. They don't explain what's garrisons. They don't explain how supply tracks works or any other that stuff. They just say it exists, that's it, and deal with that. Same for division designer. Of course, you can get it by your own, but for example, you have that stuff like, I don't know how to call it. I mean, the priority level? Or what? They don't talk about reserves, they don't talk about elite, whatever. It's the equipment type. You are supposed to figure it that on your own. And also they don't talk about statistics at all. Nothing, completely nothing. Like, it doesn't matter for them. Okay, this is what it is. What else we have? We have logistics tab, and looks like game doesn't give a shit about it. Like, it is there, and while you are fighting Ethiopia or Abyssinia, you see that there are some shortages. Game doesn't care about it. I mean, tutorial doesn't care about it. It exists. You know that there are some shortages. That's it. Frankly speaking, I mean, regarding logistics, or especially that tab, you can kinda also figure it out. Okay, I'm missing 25.8 rifles, right? I'm sorry, 8.1k rifles in. It's lacking in storage. Okay, which means that I have to produce them more. But also you have something like fuel prioritization, stockpile, army, navy, air, and all that other stuff. Game also doesn't give a shit about it. I believe it's assuming that you're going to learn it later. That's fine. This is, well, Paradox games, so I would like to hear something about it, especially that the game is mostly concerned on combat. I mean, this is warfare, right? The main priority of that game is warfare. So things like fuel, logistics, I mean, they should be really vital to the tutorial. I mean, it's not Victoria 3, right? Victoria 3 is focused on economics and politics, and it does its job. That's it. Here, we have logistics, which is, in my opinion, very important. Game doesn't give a shit about it, and that's the main problem. So, in that regard, I feel kinda lost. But it is what it is. What else? I think that things like national focus tree. It's obvious. You just have to read it and follow the path. It's kinda cool, by the way, in that game, because that gives you plenty of options. Look at that. Plenty of options to select from. Of course, sometimes you are limited by some factors, sometimes not, depends. But in general, multiple options, which is cool, awesome. And it's also simple to grasp. Other stuff, since everything else is simplified, I believe that also tutorial doesn't touch it, and I think it should, but you can learn it by your own, quite quickly, without much of the understanding. Like, just read it. Oh, okay, that's simple. There's a boost for that. Okay, assign that guy. That's it. Nothing else will happen. And there is a cost, like paying money In that case, that's political power. Then we have tab like occupied territories. And for me, there is a chance to explain that. Since we are occupying Ethiopia, they could just, well, explain that topic, right? Capture it. Now you are supposed to hold it. There might be some revolts, some unhappiness, some rebels, some resistance. You should try to deal with that. So they should explain it. Simple as that. They also don't give a shit about it. Maybe because the tutorial is quite old. Maybe. I don't know. But that should be fixed. And what else? Experimental facilities. Yeah, that's also something they don't talk about. I believe that's something new, so possibly that's the reason. It would be nice to touch on that. Look at Stellaris and Victoria. Whenever you click well, especially in Stellaris, whenever you click on something new, there's a hint tutorial popping up explaining some stuff, and that would be more than welcome. Of course, here also it happens. If you click on Navy, now we can see that, but I remember that it was popping up, like some hints about it. Now it doesn't exist. But it was there, so it was nice, and it's very helpful. But either way, tutorial has a chance to do it. Like you can really do something about it. Just brief introduction. And another thing, which is kind of annoying, is that, well, naval warfare is also a big part of that game. They don't touch it at all. It doesn't exist for them. I assume they assume that you are going to learn it by your own, and it might be kind of similar to Air Wings. Maybe that's true, maybe not, possibly, but either way, since they gave us Italy to lead in the tutorial, there was a chance to introduce the naval warfare as well. I don't understand why they didn't do that, but as I've said, it is what it is. I'm just assessing it. What's more, I believe also they could talk about convoys, whether you can blockade those convoy routes and so on. For me, this is really vital and important factor of the game, especially a game like that, which is focused on warfare. They haven't touched it as well. Okay. Again, we are supposed to learn it by our own. So in general, yes, that tutorial is just fine. That's gonna give you a brief introduction into what you are supposed to do, how to fight, and also in general, fighting in that game is kinda, that's not my cup of tea, definitely. I don't like that it's autonomous, or at least game assumes that it is supposed to be autonomous because AI knows what it's doing. So I don't fully agree with that, because I've noticed how divisions move and how they behave, and in my opinion it doesn't work great, especially that there are some penalties because you move. So there is no reason to move those divisions around the front line. Seriously, it doesn't make any sense. But AI does that, and it's quite annoying. I know that you can just give it to AI, and AI can capture whole Soviet Union by playing as German Reich, execute plan, and it's like steamrolling over the country. I know, it's possible, for sure. But since that game is about warfare, what's the point of it? I mean, it kinda makes sense. The battle plans were written in the past, of course, and it makes sense. It's, say, historically accurate, but not in that way that you just draw, okay, attack along that line, and then steamrolling as they want. And yeah, sure, you can give them orders manually, but of course, after they fulfill your order, they are going to again follow that AI plan, which is kind of annoying because we need to stop it, take a look at the front line again, see where are your divisions, and Many times they are just moving around completely. I mean, for me it's stupid, but I'm not an expert in that game. I'm just saying from military perspective. Like I don't understand. I know that divisions were transported from one place to another, but not in the way like it happened in Ethiopia. It didn't make any sense. Okay. So I also read some comments in the forum that it is supposed to be kind of auto-resolved by AI, the main portion of fighting. And my main question is, well, okay, so the game is about warfare, and now we are supposed to give it to AI and do something else. Really? So in general, Hearts of Iron 4 is more like, it's more like, I would say, Victoria or Europa Universalis, but put in the context of World War II, and you are still supposed to manage your country. But the warfare is put aside, and it's like, okay, yeah, of course it's important, right? You have to fight because that's World War II, but we will deal with that. And you just focus on our country, on politics, on economy, and everything is simplified in that game. That's something I don't fully enjoy. It's lacking some I don't know, deepness. Something I would like to deal with on my own, like it's in Victoria or in Stellaris. Of course, Stellaris is something slightly different from all those games. But really, there's no factor I would like to be part of it. So now, what I'm going to do with it? I thought about it for a while, and maybe I would give it a try, playing as German Reich and see how it goes. Could be quite interesting. I'm not saying not. But I figured that maybe if we want to focus more on warfare, it would be better to jump to some other games. And those other games are Hearts of Iron 3, which is definitely more focused on warfare itself, because you have even the concept of HQs, which doesn't exist here. Everything is automated. And also still it concerns the aspect of countries, World War II. You can select any country you want, so it gives you some flexibility, right? Which is cool. Or we could jump into games like Gary Grigsby War in the East, which is primarily focused on warfare. And you have only two factions, which is Wehrmacht, plus Waffen-SS, of course, and USSR, Soviet Union. And that's it. And everything is focused on fighting, on warfare. Logistics, fighting on the ground, fighting in the air, air support, and it's really, really complex game. It's ridiculously complex. I mean, tutorial doesn't even exist in that game. Tutorial is simple PDF files. You are supposed to read them and learn from them, and it's really hard. There are so many factors that it's really daunting to get a grasp on it. I mean, the entry level is put so high that it might be intimidating, but we could give it a try. So either Hearts of Iron 3 or Gary Grigsby, or maybe both simultaneously, to see which one is better, which one gives you a bit more fun, which one is a bit more balanced. But definitely Gary Grigsby more kind of a simulation than even a Hearts of Iron 3. Hearts of Iron 4 is, for me, it's ridiculously simplified, and I know that there are some aspects which doesn't need to be too complex, too problematic to deal with. But if the game is about warfare, I am expecting from that game that includes many systems, many facets from the warfare itself, which is not true here. Or maybe I don't see them. Maybe they are hidden somewhere. And now I know that someone will maybe write in the comments that, well, if you don't like it, just turn on expert AI difficulty. And then you will see how important it is to check every single aspect of those tables. And I understand it. But still, those numbers, those tables, doesn't represent what warfare should look like and how it should be designed, because those are pure numbers. Warfare should represent the structure, having the HQ, having the possibility to put some units which are on the front line to reserve, to manipulate that stuff, to understand how logistics works around, how it's important, and so on. Maybe logistics exists here, but I don't see it, right? So that's the main problem. That's something I certainly can see in Gary Grigsby, and I believe it's also part of Hearts of Iron 3, right? Like even that simple concept of HQs, that it's important to keep HQs close, you know that certain units are assigned to those HQs and this is vital, this is very important, and so on. Here I don't feel like it matters. And that's, oh yeah, well, that's another problem. Because here, even if it's somewhere here, if it's somewhere there in those tables and so on, those numbers, hidden numbers, I feel like it doesn't really matter. Because it's simplified. And even turning on expert AI doesn't change it. That's my opinion. Overall, as I've said at the beginning, tutorial was just good enough. It's a good heads up if you are new. I mean, for me it was quite okay. Since I play also other Paradox games, it felt quite easy to get my hands on it, to start playing. This is just fine. Would I recommend it to try? I mean, the tutorial? I think, yeah, why not? Of course, it doesn't teach you much, but that's gonna take like, I don't know, maybe an hour, maybe a bit more, and you will get the very basic concept of what's going on. And this is a just okay base to start some other campaign and build your knowledge about the system upon that. Either way, that would be it. I hope you enjoyed. Hopefully see you in the next one. Whether that's gonna be the continuation of that campaign, tutorial campaign, whether that's gonna be some campaign with other countries like German Reich or France, or maybe it will be Hearts of Iron 3 or Gary Grigsby. We will see, or I will see. I will find out what works best for me. So once again, thank you for that short noob and tutorial series. Once again, I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully see you in the next one. Thank you and goodbye. Oh, of course I clicked wrong Alt key. Okay, now thank you and goodbye.